Okay. So welcome to all our translators, Juan, for Spain and so on, and welcome to everyone. And so we start into the questions. First question is, what is your view on the concept of spiritual bypassing? So this term refers to choosing a spiritual or transcendent response to a life situation so that you don't have to confront the difficult emotions and relationship issues. So, for example, if you have a lot of conflict with people at work, you might say, oh, this is just my karma. And in that way, you can avoid looking at your actual behavior, your tone of voice, the kind of eye contact you give people, and so on. So we're saying, how can we allow feelings without getting caught up in the stories about them? So we get caught up in things because we believe in them and we merge with them. And we don't have to merge with what's occurring. Feelings like anger or jealousy or dislike arise and pass. From the general point of view, if I feel jealous, for example, that would be a sign that I feel insecure and that I will lose the relationships I rely on. But from the point of view of Dzogchen, when we relax and open, we see that many different thoughts and feelings arise. And we have two choices. We can let them come as they come. This feeling of jealousy arises. And what it shows me is the potential of the ground. The ground is open and empty. So it can show empty jealousy, empty desire, empty hatred. Or I take the feeling of jealousy to be related to me. This is my jealousy. It arises for me due to my own causes and conditions. The expression, the feeling is like a symptom of some inner dis-ease or unhappiness or imbalance in myself. So if I catch the feeling or the thought, I relate it to my sense of myself and the people around me. It becomes an aspect of my world as revealed through my conceptual interpretation. Then thought follows feeling, feeling follows thought, on and on and on, and that way we get bound into samsara. Or we just sit peacefully, open, thoughts come, feelings come, sensations come, and if they come, for sure, absolutely certainly, they will go. So everything that arises is a potential. It could be activated. And the potential ripens as a factor of our ego self when we move towards involvement with it. But if we just leave whatever is coming to come and go by itself, we don't need to have any involvement. So from the point of view of Dzogchen, the spiritual bypass, the avoidance of the messiness of ordinary emotions is really a waste of time. I'm operating from my fear of getting lost. I've attributed too much power to the thought. It feels as if the thought catches me, but the thought can only catch me if I have invented myself as a catchable entity. When I relax and release myself out of my involved identification, then it's much easier just to leave it be. Then the third part of this question is, how can we tell when our assessment of another person is true or is a reflection of our own blindness? There are several ways of assessing other people. We can assess them in terms of how our own energy seems to be relaxed and at ease with the other or closes down with the other. But because we're talking about energy, about processes, about becoming, we don't come to a conclusion. The processes of engagement just go on and on and on. And we find, even with people who we know well, some days communication is easy and some days it's very difficult. So the key thing here is to avoid objectification, avoid conclusions. Today we don't seem to understand each other, but for tomorrow we don't know. All we can say is, let's see. So we relax, we stay open, and then we're more fresh for the next moment of contact. So our experience becomes problematic when we make it very solid. Actually, each moment of experience is dynamic, arising and passing. Then the next question is, many people who walk on the spiritual but not necessarily religious path connect with what they call God. The questioner says it's not just a mere belief that God exists, but that God is a source of excellent spiritual abilities such as healing, manifesting, performing miracles. What notion from Dzogchen teachings would be the most accurate to describe this phenomenon? This notion of God as the creator belongs within the structure of duality, which arises from unawareness of the true ground. So the next part of his question is, where is God the creator of the universe in relation to the ground? Is it the same thing? If not, what is the difference? Although God is an abstract concept which becomes alive and dynamic for people when they believe in it, it's usually referred to in quite anthropomorphic terms, as if God is a person doing things. Oh, the ground in Dzogchen is not like this at all. The ground has no identity and no personality. It's not a person. Although it can be symbolized by the primordial Buddha Kuntuzangpo, in no way is it said that Kuntuzangpo creates the world. God is an eternal substance, the original something. And because he's such a powerful something, he can turn nothing into something. So in the darkness, God breathes upon the waters and says, let there be light, and there is light, and gradually the construction of the world. That is a story. It's based on concepts. You can imagine someone carrying out this activity. God creates the world. Subject, verb, object. But the ground is not conditioned by subject, verb, and object. It is the infinite space which cannot be apprehended by conceptual thought. And within it, many concepts arise and pass. These concepts are like an illusion, like a mirage or a rainbow. So illusion can arise in the form of phenomena and in the form of thoughts, of feelings, of memories, of plans. Each moment of this expression is self-liberating. That is to say, as the thought is arising, or as the image of a tree arises through your eyes perception, the actuality, the immediacy of these experiences is an ungraspable arising and passing. The thoughts and the feelings have no truth or substance to them. Their potential meanings are revealed through patterning, how they manifest with other illusory arisings. So in relation to the ground or the base or the source, actually nothing has come into existence. The ground doesn't create the world and it doesn't create us. Through all the changes of our lives, we remain uncreated. We are the processes of the patterning of potential. And everything that we say about how we are, or what we've done, or what we want to do, is a fantasy discourse. We're imagining real entities which exist in themselves. But we can't find even one of these. So the theistic notion of God the Creator and the Dzogchen view of the non-duality of primordial purity and effortlessly arising appearances is very, very opposite. Then next question is, how is it that the mind seems to identify with the thoughts in the head? As in, I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am Mickey Mouse. I think, therefore I am the real Donald Trump. And I'm going to go to Washington and America and not allow that imposter to take my place. You can invent anything. So that's the nature of thoughts. All of our fiction, our novels, our films, our plays, our operas are the play of the mind. We believe in the characters in a novel because we are used to believing in illusory characters. Different people have different views about others. Some people like Mr. Trump, some people don't like Mr. Trump. That is to say, he is the site or the object of opinions. If you have power, you can insist that your opinion is true. But even if you threaten someone with a gun so that they have to repeat your belief, it doesn't make your belief true. So there are two aspects of the mind. There is the mind as open awareness, the revelation of appearances which are without substance, which come and which go. And we have the mind, which is like our mentation or our mental processing. By thinking in a particular way and by following my thoughts, I seem to arrive at knowable, definable, existent objects. This is because when our mind is refracted through the dark crystal of duality, then it is as if it is obvious there is subject and object. So this way of identifying with mental processes is called our dualistic consciousness. Dualistic consciousness arises due to amnesia. Just as if somebody was involved in a car crash and they had some trauma to their head, this shock could lead to amnesia. They forget who they are. The person goes to the hospital and the staff try to check their pockets for indicators of true identity, but there might be no reference point. So they start by being named as the person in bed number 3. And then the person who arrived on Tuesday. And the person who had surgery on Thursday. So as people interact with this person who can't remember, through the interactions, they generate ideas which help to define who this person is. And they can start to learn some new identity. This identity will be one they gradually come to believe in. So this is the way dualistic consciousness works. It does not know, and it cannot know its own ground. The reason it cannot know its own ground is because the ground is not an object, and consciousness always works in terms of subject and object. Identity is an attribution. When a baby is born, it's given a name. And people start to make inferences about its personality, whether it's energetic or sleeps a lot. And the baby is gradually wrapped in the stories and assumptions that people bring to it. Well, this is the function of dualistic consciousness. This is to be found in all the 6 realms of samsara. And it's the basis for all elaborations of identification of what are taken to be real things. So the second part of this question is, what are the Dzogchen methods devised to transform this relationship into a proper context so that thinking is working collaboratively with feeling, intuition, and instinct? I'll read it again in 2 parts. It's very complicated. What are the Dzogchen methods devised to transform this relationship into a proper context so that thinking is working collaboratively with feeling, intuition, and instinct? I think this question is very interesting because it's starting inside a familiar frame of reference. That our job is to make sense of what is occurring, formulate a method whereby the unawareness of dualistic knowing can collaborate with feeling, intuition, and instinct. In Dzogchen, we would not want to try to solve such a problem or such a question. And much better to start with the Guru Yoga of the White R, relax and open, be present as simple presence, not formulated into I am sitting here, I am a meditator. And then as different thoughts and feelings and memories come up, we sit quietly. We are neither using the glue of believing nor the solvent of dissolving believing, which would be a position of unbelieving. There is an emergence. It's not emerging for me. I am not a constant, reliable observer. I am open and empty. I am transient potential. And I am these specific patterns which manifest moment by moment. Our postures, our gestures, our tone of voice, and so on. All of these are momentary patternings which arise in the field of momentary patternings. Reality is a fantasy. What we live is non-dual illusion. So if we have that sense, then an illusion is not a problem to be solved. It's something quite strange. So we want to pay more attention to it, to be with it, because it's a manifesting which is ungraspable. The experience is undeniable, but it's not the experience of something. It's the experience of the absence of substance. But because the mind can imagine anything, it can imagine I'm real, I exist. Other people die, but I'm not going to die. What I believe about myself is true. So our capacity for self-deception is great. He's asking, what is the next step once this relationship is properly recapitulated? Well, what the question is suggesting is that you have to see all these different factors and bring them together so that they can be reintegrated. But the field of experience has never actually been disintegrated. Samsara begins with the amnesia of forgetting intrinsic integrity. And on the basis of this comes the imagining of many, many separate entities, each with their own inner defining essence. So, as far as I can tell, these questions arise from speculative thought. I wonder how it is. Perhaps it's like this. Generally speaking, Buddhism avoids this because it's referred to as conceptual elaboration, where you have thoughts about thoughts about thoughts. What we are concerned with is to study the tradition of Dharma so that we have the best transmission. And we use the clarity of Dharma to put into question the assumptions that we build our samsaric world from. And then on the other hand, when we sit to do the meditation practice, we don't begin with any belief or any theory. For example, if we're doing the Guru Yoga of the White R, we're making use of the sound of R and the image of R as a means of letting go of these patterns of thought and belief and identity which have become too solid and too rigid. So we let go of what we've been carrying and building up. And then we don't look for anything in particular, but in a relaxed, easy way, we allow ourselves to see how it is. So that we're not trying to go from theory into practice. Our practice is to seek the revelation of the true. In this revelation, certainly for beginners, is clearest when we're not busy fantasizing. So, the next question, again, it has a similar kind of formulation. How is it that we seem to separate from an undividable, non-dual source? There may be some intellectual value if, in these kind of questions, if you're wanting to compare different philosophical systems that exist in Buddhism or Buddhism versus Hinduism. The problem is that the structure of the question tilts us towards finding something, finding the real truth. But the true is not real. So things seem multiple when we fall out of awareness into dualistic consciousness. So what I've said is reasonably accurate, but it's structured around an either or. Either it's unborn open awareness, or it's more limited, reifying dualistic consciousness. But since both are unborn and empty of any individual substance, this creates a false, misleading solidification. How does that come from this? Oh, it seems to separate because we believe it's separate. How could an ephemeral thought, which is present for 2 seconds or 3 seconds, be a messenger from the realm of reliable eternal entities? These thoughts are an empty potential. They are not signs of real entities. When we look around the room, we see maybe decorations on the wall, we see a chair, we might see some papers or books. These identifications are dependent on our use of language, on the particular culture we're living on. And a culture is a pattern of ideas. Some cultures are very militaristic. They devote a lot of energy to making weapons with which to kill the enemy. We have to kill these enemies. We are in a world of kill or be killed. If you can kill all your enemies today, then tomorrow you'll only have friends. But as we recall, the Buddha said, friends become enemies, enemies become friends. Because there is no essence of friend and no essence of enemy. They're describing patterns of behavior which we like or we don't like. So our capacity to believe in the truth of something and to merge into the idea is the functioning basis of separation. Then the second part of the question is, as the separation is only apparent, that is to say, not strongly real, what aspect of our apparent, separate, individuate itself is experiencing that separation? This is exactly the sort of question you need to address to yourself. When you feel that you exist as a separate person, where are you in this complex pattern of arising you take to be your body, your voice, and your mind? Where are you located that allows you to identify these different factors? The experiencer the experiencer doesn't exist, inasmuch as the one who is experiencing in this moment has come into this particular pattern with the moment of experiencing. So just when in many theistic traditions, God creates the world, God is outside the process of creation. He can make it happen, but he's not making it happen to him. In the same way, we have thoughts. I might think I am the thinker of the thought, but I didn't know what I was going to think. I found myself thinking that thought. That is to say, the arising of the formation of the thinker and the arising of the formation of the object which is thought about, and the arising of the formation of the process of thinking. These three dynamic movements operate together and generate the sense, this is what I'm thinking about. That is to say, I become the thinker of the thought by adopting the thought. I feel sad. I know I feel sad because I am sad. These three are operating together, and they're like a mutually adaptive, mutually correcting force that holds in place the central idea, I'm sad, and I know what my own experience is. The experience of the separation is a thought. And the thought is not a person, it's not a real entity, it's a transient pattern. And then he says, referring to the subject of that phenomena as an ego, what are the most common obstacles preventing that ego from realizing its proper place? The question is so dense with conceptualization. And these concepts are carrying with them whole structures of belief. It's exactly why when Buddha Shakyamuni gained enlightenment at Bodh Gaya, he decided not to teach. Because every formulation, every patterning appears to be strong and real, but it has no substance. So illusion is chasing illusion is chasing illusion. So again, I would say, don't think about the mind away from the purity of the Dharma view. When you look at your life situation, down or through any of the Dharma views, the clarity of the view allows you to see how you thicken and obscure the immediacy of your own experience. Thought is like a jungle. We are not as intelligent as we would like to be. Most of us sadly find that our intelligence is like a blunt machete. So when we're trying to cut through the thick bamboo, we don't make much progress. The ego cannot realize its own nature. It's not the ego that wakes up. There is no one to wake up. Waking up is a delusion, because falling asleep was a delusion. So if we just stay with the mind as it is, without proposing any fixed defining characteristics, we see that there's no need to ask conceptual questions, because we can see directly that although there is appearance, and appearance is impactful, it has no existence. So if we stay with that, then a lot of mental headaches can be avoided. So here's another question. I do the Guru Yoga of the White R and also a guided meditation that directs me towards paying attention to the thinker or the hearer or the center of consciousness. Do you see any potential issues with this combination practice? No. As long as the guided meditation that directs one towards investigation is held very lightly, without striving or trying to break through to the truth. So the Guru Yoga can help you relax, unburden yourself of your conceptual elaboration, and then in that open state, you can attend to the patterning of what is occurring. Then the next question is, many famous teachers have said that all possible phenomena are like a magical illusion, a dream, or an echo. They are empty and without intrinsic existence. So his question is, how does this relate to the bodhisattva vow? So if you awaken from a dream, then you can go back into the dream to take care of the people who are stuck in it, believing in it. So the question is there, well, can you go back into the dream? Especially because now you know that they are not real, so how could you help them? The issue is here not what is my knowledge of the unreality of their situation, but their awakening to the unreality of their situation. They believe in their dream, the dream they are inhabiting. So I can go to see a film. I go with somebody who loves that kind of film. It's a war film. I'm a pacifist. I don't like war films, but I'm going to keep my friend company. They are enjoying the loud sound of bombs and guns, and I'm sitting saying some prayers for all those who are caught up in war, which is terrifying. My friend enjoys the excitement of the war movie. If they were actually living in a war zone, I'm sure they would not be very happy. So the cinema allows them to deny the truth of what they're actually watching. If I say to the person, listen, war is hell, it's terrible, they might just laugh at me. We have to find the right moment where there is some gap, some space within the person for them to be touched by a fresh idea. But when people are strongly addicted to the belief that their country is the best country in the world, or their gender is the best gender, it's very difficult to have an open conversation. So then the question continues. Moreover, given that they are not real, why should we delay our liberation until other sentient beings are liberated, when in reality they don't have substance? And is the liberation of all beings a realistic aim? Now, I don't know if all the questions this evening were written on the same day, but it seems almost like some astrological formation has directed them. They are full of thoughtfulness. People are struggling to understand. And we can have a lot of sympathy for that struggle. But we have to be careful about the formulation. If we stay close to our senses and we observe people in a cafe talking together, I think it's reasonable to say they are neither real nor unreal. They're not real because as the conversation develops, people's tone of voice changes, their kind of posture and gestures they adopt change. They are manifestation. When the manifestation is like a mirage. The mirage is unreal and real. So it's not either or. In general, in Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism, our aim is to follow the middle way, avoiding extremes and avoiding the simplification that comes from the mutual exclusion of technical terms. So we say if something is high, it is not low. If it's hot, it's not cold. Buddhas are awake, therefore they're not asleep. Sentient beings are asleep, therefore they're not awake. This is an unhelpful conceptualization. It is within the structure of samsara. So if we're wanting to reflect on our life situation, it's helpful to read the Heart Sutra every day. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. So, in ordinary language, that's a stupid thing to say. Because if it's a form, if it's occupying space, if it has a function, that seals itself inside its own meaning and excludes the other possibilities. Because if it's this, it can't be that. And the Heart Sutra says, whatever it is, whether it's a shoe or a hat or a potato or a carrot, it is actually empty of inherent existence. So when I say potato, and I'm looking at a potato, I'm referring to an appearance. And as I chop up the potato, I don't find any essence of potato. There are different parts of the potato. They can be cut in different shapes. Each of these is potato shape because there is no potato shape. Potatoes are shaped the way this particular potato is shaped. So whenever we want to start with a defined entity, we're going to go on a journey of thinking which will keep us in the obscuration of duality. From the view of Dzogchen, all sentient beings are Buddhas. Nothing needs to be added or subtracted for them to be Buddhas. Because moment by moment, all sentient beings are manifesting from the open, empty ground. But if we go out into the marketplace and say, oh, you are a Buddha, that won't make any sense. People say, that's not my name. I'm a Christian. How could I be a Buddha? Because Christian and Buddha, they are back to back. They are mutually exclusive. But there's Christian and emptiness and Buddhist and emptiness. There is no essence of Christian or essence of Buddhism. These are thoughts. They have no substance. So life is very short. We are easily confused. I don't mean that in an insulting way, but we can see on a big scale the political process produces dictators for leaders. People would seem to prefer to have a narcissistic performer do all the thinking for them. When I look at my thoughts, I become confused. I'm just going to support our great leader. Somebody must know the truth. But moment by moment, truth is situational. It's what the Buddha says. Friends become enemies and enemies become friends because neither has a true essence. This is relative truth or relational truth. If you make me happy, then I'll want to be your friend. If you make me unhappy, I won't want to be your friend and I'll see you as an enemy. So that depends on my feeling, whether I'm happy or sad. My feelings are unstable. I hope we all know this about ourselves. So we tell ourselves stories which imply I exist, I'm real, I know who I am, I can tell you who I am definitively. This is delusion. So firstly, we should wake up and then we see what is a dream and what is waking up. But if you take these Buddhist technical terms and you just move them around like little colored markers on the table, you can make endless collage patterns. If you want to get the most out of Buddhist study and practice, then we have to start with the basics. We are going to die. Our life doesn't last forever. Each day that we have is a flow of impermanent moments. So although I can think and imagine permanent, enduring, wonderful situations, we can't find this in our world. What we find is change. And this change brings a lot of suffering. What is the basis of this experience? The mind. How is my mind? Well, then we have to sit with our mind and observe how it is. I can say, oh, all thoughts are impermanent, and you can believe what I say or not. But I'm not saying it to you as a dogma that I want you to believe. I'm inviting us all to keep inquiring into what is our actual situation. And then we find that actually it's impermanent. The truth that comes from direct seeing is much more useful, much more reassuring than endless speculation. So, sorry. So, although my commitment is to respond to whatever questions are sent in, if you can formulate questions out of your own practice and personal study of yourself, probably the question will be more beneficial for you. Okay, so that's our end for this evening. It was very good also to have this Turkish translation for the first time. How wonderful that more people from different cultures have some interest in the profound teachings of the nature of the mind. So I Just checking. I think we might have another one this year, or maybe not. We have one more, yeah? Oh, yeah, on the 11th of December. So we'll do some more questions then, and we have one Saturday before then. So very good to see you all, and I hope this is helpful for you in some way. So good evening, and hopefully meet again sometime. Bye for now. Bye, bye, bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
James.
you, James.
Everybody.
So much.
Very much.
Very much.
Gracias. Ciao.
Yeah.
Okay.
Muchísimas
Bye.
gracias.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.